All right, Raider Nation. Let's talk about the head coaching situation with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, as we talked about yesterday, the Las Vegas Raiders, according to insider sources, are looking for an offensive-minded head coach. However, when a superstar head coach, a legendary head coach, a coach that will undoubtedly be in the Hall of Fame for coaches, comes along and says, I might be interested in the job, you don't pass on it. So we're going to talk about who that head coach is, plus a couple of other candidates that are popping up on the radar for the Las Vegas Raiders, and some Patrick Graham news. All that and more on today's episode of the Raider D Podcast. Welcome to the Raider Ranch, everybody. It is a beautiful, beautiful desert morning out here, and gosh, I absolutely am blessed to be able to have a place like this and just experience this type of a morning. I wish all of you could have an experience like this. If you haven't, man, get outdoors, go outside, have some fun. It is amazing. It'll do great things for your mental health. It'll do great things for your physical health. Now let's get into today's video. But before we do that, actually, let me just thank today's sponsor, and that is Southern New Hampshire University, because without sponsors like Southern New Hampshire University and our other sponsors, these types of videos just aren't possible because they take a lot of time and a lot of research to run this channel. And so thank you to Southern New Hampshire University. Guys, if you are looking to get a higher education, but you don't want to go to a traditional brick and mortar school, maybe you want to do it at the tips of your fingertips on the internet, then you need to check out Southern New Hampshire University. It'll be the first link down in the description. They have a plethora of degrees and all of them are accredited. So whether it's for you, a loved one, a child maybe, go and check them out. Make sure you fill out the contact card and put in the information that you are requesting for the particular degree. Somebody will be in touch with you to help you walk along the process. There is no obligation. It won't cost you a dime. Go check them out today. Thank you, Southern New Hampshire Universities, for sponsoring this video. All right, I promise you we're going to talk about this guy. Now, let me just say this. There are some other coaches that are on the radar right now. Obviously, we talked about the Ben Johnsons, the Cliff Kingsburys. We know that. The Raiders want an offensive-minded head coach. But they're keeping their door open. This is going to be a much bigger open door process. You're going to see a lot more coaches interviewing for the head coaching position this year than you did with Antonio Pierce, because let's face it, Mark Davis was going to go with Antonio Pierce. He was going with the pressure from Max Crosby and Devontae Adams and the rest of the team, as well as the fan base saying, give this dude a shot. Now, in regards to that, do I believe that Antonio Pierce got a fair shot? No. A one-and-done head coach, which predominantly does affect black head coaches percentage-wise way more, twice as much as it does white head coaches. That's a pretty scary tactic. However, with Mark Davis, I don't think that has anything to do with it. I don't think the fact that Antonio Pierce is black has anything to do with why he was a one-and-done coach. I think it's just Mark Davis cannot sit tight. He cannot sit still. He has to have change. He is chaotic. That is Mark Davis. So that's going to be a problem getting a new head coach in here. I mean, we've had so many head coaches over the past few years that any head coach that's coming in is going to have a hard time believing that they're going to get a fair shot to really build this team, which, let's face it, is a bad team right now. We have a couple of stars on the team, but that's it. With that being said, some of the other coaches that are in the running for the Raiders head coaching position is Steve Spagnuolo, defensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs. Great coach. Dude's been in it for a very long time, and he is a defensive-minded coach. He's going to bring a great defense, especially since it is pretty much guaranteed that we're going to lose Patrick Graham, and we're going to touch on why that is here in just a second. But would we like Steve Spagnuolo? Yeah, sure. I mean, he's from a championship team. He's not Andy Reid. He's going to be a defensive coordinator. He is going to really run and help the defense along. And I think that our defense would be even better with Steve Spagnuolo. But that's not my choice. That's not who I would go with in this situation. Let's talk about the legendary coach. And no, I'm not talking about Bill Bellichick, guys. I know a lot of people are talking about the Bill Belichick, Tom Brady connection. Let's be honest. Tom Tom Brady doesn't like Bill Belichick, right? The guy never took him out to dinner one time that he played for Bill Belichick for 20 years. For 20 years, Bill Belichick convinced him to take pay cut after pay cut after pay cut and have absolutely no say in that offense. And Tom Brady finally got fed up with his dictatorship, and he left to Tampa Bay to prove that it's not Bill Belichick that made the Patriots great. It was Tom Brady that made the Patriots great. So all of the rumors of people saying that, yeah, he's on the list, Tom Brady's going to talk him out of the UNC job and he's going to come to the Raiders, not happening, guys. Just look at the evidence there. Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, they don't even talk. So there's no way in hell that Bill Belichick will interview for this job. I put my reputation on that. If that happens and he got the job, I would just admit I have no idea, no clue as to what's going on in the world, because that would just be nuts. Now let's talk about the legendary coach that is in a real contention, that according to insider sources he is absolutely going to be considered for this job because he is a legendary Hall of Fame caliber coach. In fact, he is one of 3 coaches in history to win both a college championship and a Super Bowl as a head coach. And we are talking about none other than Pete Carroll. Yes, that's right. The USC Trojan, Seattle Seahawk champion, Pete Carroll. Again, defensive-minded guy, right? But he is a absolute genius of a head coach. He understands offense. He understands defense. He is one of the rare coaches who can actually, if he wants to, he can play both sides, or he can call both sides of the ball. That's how good Pete Carroll is. That's the credibility that Pete Carroll gives you. And his players love Pete Carroll. He is a player's coach without being a player's coach with the negative sides of it, of not knowing the X's and O's and not playing call playing. Yes, whatever. It's early. So that would be insane. Think about this. You have Andy Reid, you have Jim Harbaugh, you have Sean Payton, and you have Pete Carroll, all in the same division. Just let that sink in. Let that sink in for just 2 seconds. That's insane. The Super Bowl wouldn't even matter anymore. It would be the AFC Championship that mattered. It would be the AFC, who wins the AFC West. That's the game everybody would want to watch, because the best teams in football would all be in the AFC West. Now, that's saying a lot. That means that the Raiders need to go out and get a star quarterback. And if you give a star quarterback with some of the pieces that we have now, and you add just a couple more pieces, maybe add a couple of guards, add a true X wide receiver like Ted McMillan, and somehow end up with a star receiver. Maybe you go out and you sign Sam Darnold for $50 million a year, and you bring in Pete Carroll. No longer would the Raiders have the West head coach. No longer would the Raiders have the worst head coach in the AFC West. It would be an absolute battle in the AFC West. It would be insane. Pete Carroll to the Raiders. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. I know he is high on the list with the Raiders, and they do intend to interview him for the job. And I know that Pete Carroll does want to get back into coaching. He's not happy in Seattle just being up in the office. Let's see if that happens. One thing that we do need to understand is that Patrick Graham is gone. He is currently interviewing with the Cincinnati Bengals for a lateral job to be defensive coordinator. He's out. He's sick of the Raiders, doesn't want to be here. He's also high on the list for Jacksonville to take over as head coach. He's going to get some other mentions as well here pretty soon, but it is very doubtful that Patrick Graham will be with the Raiders in 2025. So if you bring in a Pete Carroll, the creator of the Legion of Boom over there in Seattle, the defense is fixed. And again, he's one of those rare coaches who can fix both the defense and the offense. You just need to get him a star quarterback. Get that dude a star quarterback, and it is game over. Raiders are back. See you guys in the next video.